thank you so much, Robert, for taking a minute out of your busy schedule to sit down with me.
Yes.
It was very interesting to see you and Mr. Liu this morning. The journalists were so excited to see you both.
Yes, he and I have known each other since 2007, my first trip to Chengdu. And that was before the three-body problem had been translated into English, and he became this international superstar. But yes, it's a pleasure to be reunited with an old friend.
That's wonderful. You're quite a friendly guy, I think. I've seen you, I mean, I know that from just this interaction today. I listened to one of your interviews where you referred to William Gibson as an old friend of yours too, and a great quote of his, and it was your IdeaCon, and you mentioned the job of a science fiction writer was to weigh the pros and cons.
Yes, that's right.
And not always be so positive, because the technologist will be glowing, but the science fiction writer has to be a realist.
That's right, exactly. I like to think that nobody else in the economic landscape fills our job. Those who work at universities doing pure research can't speculate about the long-term effects of their research. For instance, I once spoke to a fellow off camera. I did some documentary work, who was working on making super intelligent mice. And when I asked him off camera, what's the applicability of that to human research? He said, well, we're hoping to increase the potential of the human mind and also be able to deal with Alzheimer's and dementia. And once the camera was rolling, he said, there's no applicability. Because he knew as soon as he said any of that publicly, his funding would dry up. So the science fiction writer is the WikiLeaks of science. We know what's going on and we get it out to the public because the scientists themselves cannot do that. And then absolutely our job is to consider not just the first order effects, but the second, third, and fourth order effects. We can famously say that, starting around, let's say, 1850, anybody could have predicted the airplane, but only a science fiction writer would have predicted airport lounges and frequent flyer miles, and airplane hijackings and things like that. Our job is to think down the road what all the good and bad ramifications of a technology might be.
Who do you think is the most influential science fiction writer of the last century then? Like, do you think
Robert J. Sawyer, without question. No. Influential.
You've had some really interesting ideas.
Well, I have. But Bill Gibson has been way more influential than I have. Neil Stephenson, likewise.
Yeah, big fan of both of them too.
Both of whom Bill I've known for a number of years, because he's a fellow Canadian. And Neil, I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. He beat me once for a Hugo, so he's not getting a Christmas card, but I think he's a very fine writer. But certainly the cyberpunks, those two, and Bruce Sterling, had a huge real-world impact. Now, what's ironic is that the real world of computing turned out to be nothing like what they were talking about. It ended up not being a subculture of hackers who was controlling everything, but the whole world participating in creating Wikipedia and all the social media sites. So they were impactful, but not prescient.
Yeah. Do you think is there a lineage? Like, if you go back before those, would it be Asimov? Back before him, would it be Čapek?
So, Čapek, of course, it was actually Čapek's brother who coined the word robota, robot. Then Čapek just used it. I don't know that I think of Asimov as particularly prophetic. I think that Arthur C. Clarke was much more interested in the near future than Asimov was. Asimov's most famous works, obviously, The Foundation, far, far future.
Which is getting a whole new life now with
the TV series. David Goyer, who is the showrunner on Foundation, was also the showrunner on Flash Forward, the TV series based on my novel. So I wish Dave all the best, and of course the Asimov estate all the best with that. But Clarke, you look at 2001, A Space Odyssey, and very interestingly, MIT Press did a book in 1992 called Hal's Legacy. In the movie, Hal says his birthday. I was born on the 12th of January, 1992, at the HAL lab in Urbana, Illinois. And so MIT Press did a book asking every major AI researcher from Marvin Minsky forward how much they were influenced by Hal. And every one of them said that that was the template for what really became artificial intelligence research. Because how did natural language processing? He didn't sound like a machine. He could carry on a realistic conversation. He could beat a human being at chess, which was the ultimate challenge, we thought, of machine intelligence. He could express feelings and emotions. And as Dave Bowman says in the movie as to whether he really feels these things, nobody can really say. But the voice recognition, the voice activation, all of this, that became the template for what really happened in artificial intelligence research came out of Arthur C. Clarke's imagination.